because I was able to find this variety in a pretty small area. So starting from the left to the right, these are fresh green cones. So when we're reading in the protocol, green cones. These are from this year. They're, the pinyon tree will take 2.5 years to produce the cone and the nuts. So these are the very first stages after it's fertilized. So these would have been fertilized this spring, summer. And so this is, let's just pretend, 6 months. So it'll still be another 2 years. So the fall of 2023, those will be with nut or seed. These here, maybe you could, Tice, you could move over this way a little and get the bright light on there. And so
with the shadows.
So these 2 cones were produced and had seeds this year. So they were fed on and in the tree this year. There's 2 seeds.
Turn one of them over so that you can see
the different
color.
color.
Yeah, exactly.
You can still see sort of this yellowish honey. And then sometimes you'll still find them with some seeds. These are both, they've been messed with by worms of some sort, so the animals don't eat them. So that's the only reason they're still in there.
Okay.
This group right here is what we read in the protocol are aborted cones or unfertilized. So these were also produced last year, I guess, or the year before, but there was nothing in them. They're very light and hollow, and those will be remnant still on the tree. They look like flower buds just sitting there. And then at the end here we have, these are the ones you'll find from the year before, or 2 or 3, underneath a tree. So, they're dried out, they're wide open. These are the kind that get dispersed, in washes. You'll find cones. So that's kind of a range of the ages. And when you're doing these assessment surveys, and you have a decent pair of binoculars, you can see all of this variation, up to a half mile away. So if you're at a plot that has roads, a decent road system, whether it's in a valley or along ridge lines, you can get a really good view of a really long expanse just by stopping every quarter to a half a mile or so. Especially the green ones stand out.
What you don't have here are the large green cones that are ripe in the current year. Is that correct?
The first ones are
not ripe yet.
Not ripe yet. These would have been, like, if I had been doing this presentation, let's say a month ago, probably those would be. Those would be the ones.
In the season right now.
Yeah, we're a little late. It's September 25th,
Yeah.
and so maybe this year with the drought early on and last year's conditions, maybe the productivity is down.
Yeah, because last year, at least over towards Heber, the current years were still sappy green in mid-September.
Okay, and that's what these little ones are. Like, just picking them off the tree, you get covered in sap.
Right.
So these will still be on the tree. I plucked these off of a tree, and like Tice was saying, she was at a site last week or whenever, and from a distance you'll see a whole pinyon tree covered with those cinnamony brown open cones. And so those would have had seeds this current year.
Okay.
But they're too. Would
no, because they've already, they and the chipmunks and everybody else has already picked them out, except for the ones that were destroyed by insects.
So at this stage, Pinyon Jay flocks are probably going after their caches.
They probably are from last year. I watched some in juniper trees, and the juniper berries are pretty productive right now, and I'm wondering if they've been eating those as well.
Right.
Where I was just recently, they weren't feeding on the ground. Sometimes you'll find them in a big, wide, open, grassy, weedy fields, and the whole flock will be on the ground, and whether they're eating insects or seeds, annual seeds, they might do that sometimes as well.
Okay.
So yeah, so when we're doing the cone assessments, this is a pretty good variety of what you're looking for. And you know, as long as your vision and your color vision is pretty good, you know, you can see those different hues, the contrast from a pretty far distance away.
So is it still of value to go out and survey looking for the little green cones? Because we know that eventually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how you can predict where they'll be, or
Yeah.
how conditions. But that is the prediction, right?
Yes.
What proportion of this you don't know,
Right.
right? The ones that are fertile and the ones that are unfertile.
Yeah.
Knowing the proportion of aborted this year will help us predict the proportion of aborted next year with water conditions, precipitation, and then, you know, if it's a bad year, then it's less likely there'll be a good crop.
Yeah.
So for a volunteer going out and actually running the protocol, that's where I don't have the actual sheet.
Yeah. So I have,
So here's the.
you know, it says start with an area that has ripe cones.
And
So that would be, you know, these and those.
Okay.
could we make like a little, could we label this so that we have cards for people